with the guys.
I'll CM Trust first. I'll just have to time
What's up, my friend?
Ash, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me try something else here.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Now, how about now? Now, how about now? How about now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Does it sound horrible? I don't know what's going on with these Bluetooth air head.
No, you actually sound okay to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, you sound perfect.
Okay. All right.
You sound perfect. I think I'm good here. So
all you're having to just do it on.
hold on one second. Let me change the lights in here, okay?
Yep. Oh, Lord. Hey, Mitchell, come here.
All right, my friend, I'm back. Sorry about that. How's things with you, Charles?
You good? Oh, it's wonderful.
Somehow I lost you.
Can you hear me?
Nope.
No?
Everything was fine until I walked out of here.
Good job, Ash. Mitchell, come here and see why these things aren't working. Can you hear me now? Okay, Jory can hear me.
Let me try it one more second again, Charles. You were fine until I walked out of here.
See if I go. Yeah.
How's
Okay.
that?
I hear I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I just don't have my headset. I'm coming through my my computer. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine.
All right. I tried a few different things today, so we'll see if we'll see how this works. I may have to speak a little louder since it's going through my computer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm used to getting yelled at anyway.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Well, welcome to Cutting Edge with Charles and Ashley for the 22nd. 4/11/2022. Sorry, take one. I need to get one of those old things that they used to make movies with the chalk on them and the thing
There you
comes
go.
down.
There you go. You are a bit of a producer these days.
I'm trying to, man. We got some more shows coming up. We've got about 500 under our belt, believe it or not, between all the stuff we do.
It's crazy.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. So let's talk about this is Cutting Edge, Charles De La Torre, Industrial Forest Products, Ashley Buckled, MX Lumber. I wanted to talk a little bit about what we saw over the last week or so, and let's talk a little bit about Southern Pine, Charles, and then what I'll do after we talk about it, I was going to cut over and kind of show what we have on the platform today, just to do some shameless self-promotion and show a little bit of stuff on there, if that's cool. So
yeah,
seems like Southern Pine yesterday, and we could talk about the whole market, but I like concentrating on kind of your neck of the woods in this situation. Pine came off hard the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, It's like, it was like a hammer falling through toilet paper, so to speak, right? And all of a sudden, what I sensed Thursday and Friday, especially on 4-inch and 6-inch, there was some trading done well below the published prices, well below where everybody thought it was, and caught a little bit of a bite. Does that make sense? Is that fair enough for 4-inch and 6-inch, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely 4-inch and 6-inch were, how do I say this? I mean, it finally found a bottom in 2x6. 2x4, I feel like is kind of touch and go right now, but
Yeah.
2x6 definitely found a little bit of a footing. And as far as trading below published numbers, by Thursday or Friday, I feel like that had already passed. Mills started firming up numbers, and they were getting back print delivered and plus freight on your key links in 2x6, especially 14 foot. I mean, 14 foot, number 2 and number 3 has been historically difficult to source, but right now it's even harder due to yields on the industrial side.
Right on. So yeah, we saw that. I was going to bring up real quick, if you don't mind, I'm going to try to share my screen here. If you can see this and kind of show you what we have in Pine. So if you're a user of Materials Exchange, you have your login, you can come into it, and I cleared all the screen so I can just show you a few things. I wanted to show active markets just on some Pine today. I just picked the Atlanta market for the heck of it. Now, some of this Pine is coming from a lot of different locations. So you just simply hit select, you choose your location. You can also enter single location. So it brings up what's for sale in Pine. As you can see, prompt, it's 636, 711 and 2x612s, number 2. So you can see all the different items on Pine. Number one 10s, number 1 12s, a whole cadre of items available. Then if we want to go over and look at panels, I mean, heck, let's pick the Atlanta market again. You show the active markets. Let's just find some different OSB products here. Boom, 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 boom. You hit select. Let's do Atlanta again. Add to the select watch list. It runs and it brings up some items that we have for sale. So you can see 23 30 seconds Euro, 1433, 716s 4x9, 1103. OSB 23 30 seconds G&G, 1153 delivered. These are all items that people can come in and bid on and look at if you are a user of our exchange. Let me click off that. There you go. So I just wanted to show a few different items that we had up there today, Charles. Let's tack over to OSB. What are you seeing in the Southeast on that right now?
Everybody's trying to find the floor after what happened Friday.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary, honestly. It's very, very scary. What happened?
Talk to me about what happened.
$400 across the board.
What's that?
The swing was about $400 across the board.
Yeah, but I think everybody sensed that coming. I think the price that was being printed was probably lagging pretty good, right, for 2 or 3 weeks. Does that make sense?
Well, I think it just the legitimacy of published pricing is becoming more of an issue compared to where the market is due to how swiftly and how quickly all this stuff moves. I mean, yeah, I think everybody sensed the softness in the market, but I mean, a $400 dip on published pricing is, number one, unprecedented, but number two, I mean, I feel like it should have given off a little bit more in the prior weeks.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. And I think that is also one of the issues when you have an item that has such a large amount of producers, right? So
very much
where you see all that movement is in the secondary market. Everybody that's owned all this OSB for 2 or 3 months decide when they want to pull the ripcord on that, they pull the ripcord on it regardless of what the print price is, right? And that never really gets reported back. That's one reason why a lot of people like using the platform, because they can see in real time what items are trading at, right, relative to them. Low grade items, just in general. That's the world you live in. What have you seen there? What are the items that you're cutting into, adding value and so forth? What are you seeing there?
I mean, 2x6, like I said, 14 number 3 is a hot commodity. I think your 2x4s in a grade mark number 3 are still hot because you still have trust guys that consume them, right? And a lot of multifamily job sites use number 3 as plate stock. So it affects kind of a dual market from the industrial side all the way through apartment complexes. So, that found a bottom, in my opinion, a little bit quicker than number 2 did. just for the fairly simple fact that a lot of that stuff is contracted too. A lot of your big guys, they'll contract a vast majority in number 3 versus number 2 due to it being a downfall product, right? Quote unquote. But it found footing a lot sooner than anticipated from my standpoint, from what I saw. So it's kind of a shock, honestly, on both Tube 4 and Tube 6.
Let's talk a little bit about multifamily. So we've been going back and forth, throwing out interest rates, houses under construction is historically high, but not from a single family. I think single family houses under construction was actually higher in 2004, 2005. But overall, when you take into multifamily and single family, multifamily is still kind of rocking from what I can see. Does that make, there's a lot of headwind news out there with interest rates, etc. But from what I see from my end, is multifamily is still blowing and going and putting jobs on for Q2, Q3. What's your feedback there?
You hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of demand out there, and interest rates and all the stuff that's going on. Yeah, it's a headwind, but I mean, we're also in the tailwinds at the end of the craziness that we've experienced over the past couple of years. So it's not going to be a light switch where the faucet turns off. I mean, you have to be on the right side of it, and you have to be prepared for that downside. But at the same time, and once again, it's timing. When does that happen? Does that happen as soon as interest rates are announced that they're going up, or does that happen in Q3? That's the question. Because I've heard guys forward pricing jobs at $1,100, $1,200 for August, September delivery because, quite frankly, they have jobs sold that need to be covered. So it's a very fine line, and you can swing and miss big time in the environment that we're in right now.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit too. Now let's click over to logistics. What we've seen is some of the routes are still tough, but freight seems to be lightening up a bit. I don't know if that's more on the overall economy or lumber in general, but we've started to see that some lanes that we were having a hard time with, which we were having a really hard time with, have started to open up. Are you seeing anything there?
So when you say open up, are you going from 2 weeks on prompt wood to like 6 days, or what?
Well, I'm saying pricing and availability. It seems in some, not all lanes, but some lanes that we historically were having a hard time with have started to open up a little bit.
Well, I think coming out of Northeast and Florida are probably the two biggest pieces that we've seen a weakness in. Anything in the Southeast, where once again you have a lot of production, it's still relatively tight and relatively expensive. Timing
Northeast is exactly. We had some long hauls Northeast all the way back west, and those lightened up on us quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean that's the fish in a barrel perspective, right? Because you're going from a horrible freight market to a good freight market, or you're getting somebody back home after they've ran across the country. And especially when you get somebody outbound Florida at $3.50 versus $4.25, I mean, it's still a good deal. And historically, it's $1.10 a mile or $1.30 a mile, right? So, sure. Yeah, I mean, supply has loosened up and prices have dropped. But I mean, as far as a wide scope perspective, I don't know that it's monumentally changed how fast or how swiftly wood's going to flow through the supply chain, because you still have backups and you still have buildups, not only at ports, but also at reload. So that's another unknown as far as logistics goes and creating that bottleneck. Yeah.
So back to ports have still been tough. I know we got a port up in the Northeast that it's been tough out of. It's starting to get a little bit better, but let's tack right over to Euro. So, talking to Riley and a few other guys, it doesn't seem like there's any less Euro coming over from what I can see. There's not any more, but not any less. So I guess a lot of those vessels are on the water again. So we should see another chunk of that coming in over the next month and a half. Does that make sense?
Yep. Towards the end of the month, first part of April. But I guess my question for a lot of that, as far as the unknowns from the Russia-Ukrainian scenario, right? Were those allocations already set before that happened?
That's a good point. Yeah, and that's one thing I don't have enough information on, but that's a good thing to find out. I think probably yes, right?
Yeah, because I mean, it takes so long to get it from mill to rail to port. So were those allocations already set, and guys were anticipating said volumes, and they can't really pull it out, especially the people that have been here and stay here for a very long time. It's hard to manipulate that once it's already obligated to. Now, once that's changed and we're talking about May wood, I think that's a variable that some people haven't taken into consideration because they see that your immediate volumes haven't changed. Once again, it's the same thing with interest rates. Yeah, it's going to create a headwind long term, but in the immediate fashion, we don't really know what the downfall or the outcome is going to be on that because everybody's got really good takeaway.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So what, anything that you're looking at this week, anything that you've, I mean, you do a lot of planning over the weekend, putting the pen to the paper, thinking about stuff. What's your game plan for like this week, the rest of the month, selling for the rest of Q2? What do you, because we've had a really interesting market in the last few weeks, right? It's a lot of volatility again. It kind of gets you all over the place, right?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, there's still opportunities for substitutions from 7-year-old pine to spruce, especially in 2 to 6 studs, as always. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're focusing on there. But I mean, overall, we're trying to manage lead times because at the end of March, we sold almost a complete month of April. And now we're quoting the second week of May. So, I mean, the demand's there. And, you know, people are asking for more loads and extra loads. Hey, can you fit this in? I need it next week or what have you. But there's only so many hours in a day and so many people that can run a saw. So it makes it really difficult from our standpoint. But it gives us the opportunity to kind of focus on the open market as a whole versus an average inventory cost to bring some more value to our customer base on the backside from a pure wholesale perspective.
Yeah, no doubt. So one of the substitutions that I've heard about in the last 2 or 3 weeks, which I was kind of waiting to happen. And one of the multifamily people told me this when I was working on moving some 2330 seconds TNG OSB. Sounds like plywood finally got so damn cheap that everybody, that the people that were willing to switch, let's put it that way, switched, right? Because it made economic sense, right? And people did it on a big chunk. Is that still the play right now? Has that stopped? Has that changed? Was there a lot? Because obviously there's a heck of a lot less plywood production than OSB production. So if people are willing to do that and they time it right and they get the right producers of it, they can hit it. Is plywood still traded at a huge discount to OSB relative to the same products?
Oh, yeah, even with the fall in the market from Friday. And I think it puts the people that were kind of lackadaisical to make that change or not open to making that change, kind of kicking themselves in the butt because, I mean, there was huge differences. I mean, $300-$400. I mean, when you're talking about 3-quart flooring. So yeah. It's a money perspective, not a convenience perspective at that point, right? Because there's obviously a lot of people historically that would prefer OSB over plywood for a multitude of reasons. But, you know, I think that gap's going to close over the next couple of weeks and that opportunity is going to diminish if it hasn't already. So
let's just look at an example. What is the item that people substitute the most in plywood versus OSB, especially from a multi-family level? Do they go 1/2 inch versus 7/16, or what's the big item that they actually will substitute?
From my experience, it's subflooring.
Okay.
3/4, because I mean 3/4 was, you know, $1,450 delivered Southeast on plywood, sturdy floor, and OSB was $1,740.
Right.
It's a big difference.
So where did sturdy floor pine get to? Where was like its low trade price the last week or two?
I think I want to say $1,200, something like that.
Okay, about so $1,200,
but it's less than that today because it's got to correlate with what happened in 3/4 flooring and OSB. So, I mean, if you bought last week, you're upside down $200.
Right. Interesting. Well, look at anything else you want to chat about today, or you wanted we've gone our 20 minutes. I'm not sure what else we talked about a bunch of things. It has been an interesting market. I know Riley put a new poll out Saturday.
Yeah, I saw that.
We had breakfast and we were talking about it. And it scares me a little bit if those polls tend. So it was: are we going back to new highs? Are we going lower, or is it going to go up and then pull back and do nothing, basically? And only a small amount of people polled said we were going to new highs. So if that holds true, most of the polls that Greg's done have done exactly what the least amount of people have predicted.
That would be scary.
It is, right? But it would be something nobody would expect, right? And the markets always tend to do what the most amount of people expect the least, right? And markets
Yeah, it's
always,
completely illogical. Completely.
Yeah. But markets always seem to go what hurts the most amount of people the most, right? And that's probably not going down at this point. It's probably going to all-time highs would be what it would be. But we'll have to stay tuned and see what when that poll is over, what the complete consensus is. But that's what it was trending at this morning when I looked at it. It was pretty cool.
Now, Ash, let me ask you this: based on that poll, I mean, what do you think would drive it to those new highs, considering all the economical factors that we've touched on?
Well, so just from my limited experience in this industry, everybody was getting so negative in the last week or two about interest rates, about houses under construction, about everything, right? And then I saw some of these people that were getting nervous start buying some stuff last week, right? People that told me it was going to go down really low. So I guess the only thing I could say is markets always like to climb the proverbial wall of worry. And there's always something called the hand of God out there, whether you're religious or not, that you never see coming. And I think Elon Musk always said that usually things end up in the most humorous way. They have a way of settling out. And then if this market was going to do something to really be humorous or out of the ordinary, it would be back to old highs again, because nobody would expect that, right? I'm not saying it's going to do that, but I just think that there's so much negativity out there, and we sold off, found buyers, so things can stay better a lot longer than people can stay solvent. And I just know that from trying to do things in my life and trying to be smarter than a market, right? So I don't know where it's going, but just looking at that poll, I think that there's still a lot of good business out there. And even with interest rates being where they're at, I'm not convinced it'll take some people out of the market, but if people want to buy a house and unemployment is still pretty good, or employment level is still pretty good, people can find a way to buy a house.
Well, I think that I would agree with you. And I think one of the variables that a lot of people aren't talking about is the institutional money in the single family business compared to history. And, I've heard stories of them going in and buying, postage stamp lot neighborhoods with 50 houses built, just buying the whole thing out.
Yeah.
And just because they got to deploy the cash while it's cheap. And, that I was actually having that conversation this weekend, and it kind of struck a chord to pay attention to, because all of it's coming from Wall Street. I mean, you look at what happened with some of the big guys in 2008. I mean, they printed money when it happened. And, the fact is my generation, me and 35 years old, a lot of people that live in major metros, they don't want to cut grass. They don't want to have the responsibilities of home ownership. So this makes it a lot easier. It's turnkey.
No, there's no doubt about that. I look at just what the price of farmland is trading at now with my, I'm an ag business major, right? So I call my buddies in Iowa, and land that was 12 years ago, $5,000, 2 years ago was $10,000 to $12,000 is now trading at almost $18,000.
Yep.
But let's go, where are people putting their money? Hard assets, land, houses. So it's a good point. Like, even though there may not be somebody willing to buy that house or those 20 lots, there may be an investor willing to pick those up, because to them, that's just deploying capital, right?
Oh yeah. Deploying capital and cash flow.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, back to our whole conversation is, I don't know where the market's going, but we did trade off pretty hard, and it is volatile, and it still seems to have some life left in it here.
Definitely has legs. I would agree with you.
Yeah, we still have items trading with 4 digits on them. We haven't seen that. I haven't seen that except for the last 2 years of my career. I've never seen that really in my life. So it will be interesting. I think we'll just stay tuned. Let's keep talking and keep informing people, and in going from there. So cool. I appreciate it, Charles, and have a great day. All right.